All right, good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Sunday morning, and I just want to say welcome to another tutorial. Azenquor Tuts. You can see the channel thing all over the place, and I hope you'll enjoy this tutorial. Before we even start, I have a little verse to share with you. It says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger," which means if you're ever confronted with a situation where you could get angry, just remember this verse and apply it, and don't retaliate in horrible words, but return a soft answer. It'll more than likely diffuse the situation, depending on the person. All right, so let me get started by preparing the documents that we need to show you. Right, we're going to be making a little ice queen photo manipulation. You can see it here. So we did that before and after to this week in class. I was teaching, I was showing my students how to do a little color correction and it turned into this. So I'm going to carry you through the steps I did to make this. Of course, you can't expect that it'll come out exactly perfectly the same. I might be using different elements, different images. But all in all, you learn the techniques in order to create something like this or recreate it with another image. All right. So this is what we have before. So let's open up Photoshop. So before we even get started, you probably see the import the image already. Let me just show you how to import said image. So we're gonna go open and just choose that. All right. So this is the image we have. There's a phone ringing in the background, but I'll ignore it. All right. So we have an image here. What we really want to recreate is what we saw, before and after. So what I probably do is open this also in Photoshop. So now we have something to work with. So well, to start, what we'll first do is make sure we are going to be using layers, and remember that layers separate each individual element of a photo. I'll be using Photoshop CS 5.1. That's the one I have. I know there's later versions out there, but um I don't really want to pay for one more upgrade right now, and I got this one from the school. So um let's start off. We're going to change the color of our eyes and our lips. So create a new layer. Your shortcuts are Control Shift N, and you can also just press the new layer button. I'll be using a brush. Let's just pick a brush. Based on the size of our eyes, probably might need one that's a little less like that. Alright, to get the blue in the eyes, what we do is just pick a color blue here over in the color picker. However intense you want the blue to be. Let's just zoom in so we can make sure we're not going to be messing up any areas. So we'll be using non-destructive editing. We won't be deleting any pixels. We'll just be using masking. So I'm just going to color in the eyes bit, and I'll even lower the hardness of the brush or increase the hardness of the brush. That way we have a better look. This might be a little too hard. I want to soften it. Shortcuts for softening the brush is Shift left square bracket. In the case you want to just be using shortcuts, and shortcuts does help your workflow to go a little faster. So we'll just be coloring in the eyes like so. Right, so that's one eye. We'll come back to that. Next eye here, just color it over. And yeah, there's some of the hairs in there. We're gonna be fixing up that afterwards. And voila, her eyes are blue. No, not really. Oh, we need to blend the layers. So if we look here in our layer blending modes, for those of you using the higher version, you might have quite a few things like kind. Just keep it at name. That should make it easier to just navigate. So we're just gonna choose we can choose between color, which might be too intense. We can choose saturation, which doesn't work. We can choose hue, barely see the difference. What I like to do is just play with these and see if I get the color that I desire. And if you find one that you like, usually soft light works for me. So that's soft light right there. That's for her eyes. So we can just say eyes. Now we need something for her lips. We could use the same layer and we get that result. But I like separating my elements so that way I can choose what I want to see. I'm just gonna choose a different color for the lips. As you can see here, it's kind of a dark color here. I'll just go with a darker blue. And we just paint over the lips. One of the easiest ways to do this though is to select. We're going to choose a color range here. These are the eyes we have. We're going to select the lips, get the color of the lips, and once it's satisfied, increase the fuzziness a bit. Press OK. It'll just select the lip area. That way you have a better selection in order to create or even fill in colors you want in a much more desired look. So I'm just going to choose this, just paint over it. You can see it just separates it here, and we get the lips to look relatively close to what we want. We can always play with the color again. Choose the one you like. Hue, this hue doesn't look bad for me, but let's see what we can get. Pin light doesn't look bad either for this particular one. So I could leave it like this if I want to. And I might just leave it at this one. I might just come over here a bit, just to touch up a little bit. You don't want to get all the white out, because remember the lip does have some white shininess. I'm just going to undo that and see if we can get a bit of stuff over here. Remember, she's going to be an ice queen. Ice queen, that's what it is with cold and frost and all these wonderful little things. Right? So we have that. Eyes are intense. Good. If they're too intense, you can always lower the opacity. You don't want some there look. You want a nice clean look. All right. So there's more to do, as we can see here. If you look at her hair, the hair is not as blonde. It's more white than anything else. So we're gonna just change some of the hair first. So we're getting rid of the base colors. Once we get the base colors out of the way, we just add more to it. All right, so for the hair, we're just gonna do the same thing we did before, which was a color range, and select a color like this, her hair color basically. And you can even try going a little bit more deep in there, so you can get more here. The white areas are the parts that are going to be selected, and the darker parts are not going to be selected. So you have to kind of be careful what you're selecting. So this might work for me. Press OK and see what we get. Right, so we're not going to be painting in everything here. So what I'll do is I will use my lasso tool and I'll deselect the areas I don't want to paint in. So I'll go Alt, and you can see it changes the selection type there. When you hold Alt, makes the minus selection. I'm going to subtract the selection around here, just around here, right, the parts that right, yeah, and it subtracts. So I made a mistake. I should have just done this, all of this, and just come around, come around, come around, come around her face. Not so much here. And take out all that stuff. Might just be easier just to paint it in, so I'm just gonna paint it in and see what results I get. It was lips, so I can rename that lips. Now renaming is useful because sometimes you might get a whole lot of different layers, and if you do a project and you have over 100 layers where some things are overlapping some things, it can be kind of tricky to find everything, even with your auto select layer on. So my size is up. I'm just painting it white and see what we get. Results are nice. I like it. So just painting these in, right? Just see. It's looking good because we're getting the hairs we want to get. right? Her eyebrows. I want to get that in here as well. That in. Oh, so whole face. So we leave the eyebrows for now. Come back to it later. Over here, we still want to get the hairs. And remember, I'm using a brush, as you can see. Using a brush where the size is big enough and the hardness is at 0. And the shortcuts for size and hardness, for size it's left square bracket and right square bracket, left square bracket being smaller and right square bracket being bigger. And for the hardness it's shift left square bracket and shift right square bracket for the same. So shift left square bracket. I think I'll just put a shortcut in the annotations there. So you have hardness at 0. That makes it a lot softer for the brush, and we just brush as we see fit. Brushing, brushing, brush, 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 brush. So Snow Queen girl has white hairs, right? And because some of our hairs are in the background, you still want to get them anyway, right? So that's fine. All right. Deselect some of the hairs we didn't get, so we'll have to paint them in. I prefer just painting them in manually. It's gonna take less time. Whoops. Let's play with the blending modes now. There's hue, we're not playing with that. Saturation is what we really want, right? So it can get a slightly more blondish. So I'm gonna go back again to my select color range and select the brown parts for the eyes. Lower my fuzziness so I can just select just those parts. Those hair color parts. Right, and press OK. And see what we get when we paint it in. I just pressed D a while ago. So I'm just painting that in. As you can see, it's not becoming, it's more gray than anything else. Can't see that there. And because my blending mode is on for saturation, that's why it's becoming like that. So I'm just painting those in as I see fit. Sometimes you have to get back in there and just clean it up afterwards. Just want to erase some of this. Like so. Let's play with the colors still. I like seeing what effects I can get. No. Alright, that's at multiply. These are no, 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 no. So we just stick to what we had before. Just want the hairs to be white, but kind of like this. So we just use color. Color works. That's what we have so far. So it's slightly coming along together. It's coming up more. Alright, so now we need to get the whole. So now we kind of need to get the whole ice look, right? Because right now she still looks relatively alive. Not that she's gonna look dead, but cold, ice, blue, white. So we're gonna play with some things. Let's get back into Photoshop. We're gonna play with what they call the adjustment layers, which allows us so far. Well, what we've done so far is we've stacked our layers and we haven't actually edited the original image. We've used non-destructive editing, like I said. So I'm gonna just rename this here HAIR, and we'll add an adjustment layer. The one I'll start with is just playing with the brightness and contrast first. And the thing about your adjustment layers, they affect all layers underneath. So even if you have painted stuff below the adjustment layer, it'll affect those as well. So just double click brightness contrast. You'll see the settings pop up there. If you increase brightness, you'll get more white. Contrast gives you more black. So essentially all it does is the contrast really brightens the white parts and darkens the dark parts, right? This could be a faded look, but this is not what we want. We want it to really pop, but be more on the white side. So I won't be using this one particularly. One I like using is curves because it gives me a lot more control for me. So you can also click on these little thumbnails, but I'll select it from down here. We go curves, and now we can see this. So this kind of tells you what your color looks like right now from red, green, blue going across. This is your darker colors, these are your lighter colors. And if you lower your white, it becomes darker, and black becomes lighter. So I can actually control the brightness and contrast and do everything from here. So we have this button here. If you click auto, it'll try to correct it, which is fine. What I'm doing, increasing the white a bit, and I want to lower the dark areas just slightly. So I get something like that. So it's a little more intense. I also want to play with the blue. See what blue I have. I can kind of up the blue a bit. And I still want a faded look. I want a slightly colder, softer look. This is too intense. So this is not working out for me quite as well. What I can do is try hue saturation first and see if we can get some blue in. Colorize. That's too much. Just change my hue to blue. Right, but we don't want it to be too intense, so we just lower the opacity so you get a cooler look to it. There we go. This is something I would like. Let's up the curves a bit, just slightly, so it really pops out there, and just slightly lower the dark parts. All right, so it's really coming along like this. This is good. What I'll do now, because some parts are red, some parts are blue, I'm going to put a layer on there. I'm going to just go really huge soft brush, and we're going to create a new layer on top of this. I'm just going to put some artificial snow in there. I'll just drop in some white blobs, you know, poof and stuff, and some stuff and stuff. Actually, the easiest thing to do is paint it in, because we can always come back and, or fix snow, or all right. So I would say non-destructive editing. I'm going to convert this into a smart object. The reason being because I want to preserve my original layer fidelity. Um, what that means is that you preserve all the data that you have in there, but you can also apply filters and they become smart filters. So I'm going to choose blur, Gaussian blur, and you can see becoming blurrier. And we just up the blur, up the blur, up the blur so it's visible. Yeah, like that. Other parts we want to put in there as well. I'm gonna create a gradient of blue, light blue to white. Here's my bucket tool. Click and hold to get the gradient bucket. And we are going to make sure it's blue to transparent. And we just here's some of this over, some of this over, or some of this over. And what I'll do is just change the blending mode until we get something desirable. This actually works with the hue, but let's see what we can get. Soft light seems to work nicely. Alright, the last thing we really need now is to find ourselves an image of snow. So we just look for snow, and what you want to do is find an image that no thank you Google, images You want to find an image of snow falling. Essentially, a black and white image would work. This one works. Here we are. You can find any one of them you want. So I'll just pick one that has a lot of snow falling there, but is relatively bigger. If, for instance, you're trying to look for images in Google, I recommend using the tools and choosing the size to be large. Try to get as big as you can. Some of these aren't big enough, but that is okay. What we'll do is just do a bit of, and usually I'd recommend not doing this, but because of what we're doing now, um, might be required. So my image is actually really large. So if we look at this in pixels, it's a lot by some. So our image, when I paste it in, is going to be a lot smaller than we want. So we have two options. We could scale up the image and lose quality, or we can scale down my little image here. So what I'll do instead is just convert this to a smart object, and you will still have a bit of pixelation, but it won't be as noticeable. Not because of the smart object, but because image Photoshop kind of does an anti-alias on whenever you up the layer. So we're changing the blend mode to screen, not color dodge. Color dodge looks nice, but screen works. Screen actually changes the black part of the whole thing and makes it whiter. So you can see here we're getting something closer to what we have. We never ever will quite get it to be exactly as it is, but that is okay. Just gonna get some warmth over here because you want a contrast of light and dark. You don't want to be perfectly cold all the time. So I'll just put some blue in here. Some parts blue and some parts lighter. Alright, might seem like a lot of snow. We can always lower the opacity. Alright, so now we have something quite like what we had before. This is it, really. It's nothing more difficult than a few simple steps. Lol. Right, so let me just add another layer with some snowfall again, in the case that you might feel it's necessary. Just some white here and there, just the white, right? So it looks like snow's falling, and I can just do that, right? There we go. And then we can just always add a few text, just a little text, snow queen. Just up the size of the font. Probably gonna use Trajan Pro. It's a nice font. Yep. Snow. Of course, you can always add some layer effects on there, right? But that's it. That's our tutorial. I hope you found it enjoyable, and I hope you learned something new. So we did a bit of color correction with the curves. We did a bit of the hue saturation. We changed the blend mode. We added a few more images. We changed the color of the eyes and the mouth using the blend modes again. And we haven't actually deleted any pixels. So if you want to see the before and after, this is our after. What I'm going to do is group everything. Control G. And this is our original image. So after. You can see we really did something there today. So I hope you learned something from it. I hope that you got something from it. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you, and God bless you.